What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix. I'm Ryan Coop here with your Week 11 2021 CFL Fantasy Recap. Yes, Week 11 has come and gone, and it was a rough week of CFL Fantasy for a lot of people, myself included. Not a lot of great performances to go around across the board. I'll take a look at all of them at each position here today, and then we'll take a look at my score on the week as well. And then we'll move on to week number 12 this week. We have a bit of extra time. The CFL's back to its kind of regular schedule of Friday, Saturday, Sunday games. No more of these Tuesday or Wednesday games in the middle of the week. So first game of the week this week does come Friday night, which gives me a little more time to get all of the content out. So I will have your quarterback and running back previews out on Wednesday this week, wide receivers and defense on Thursday, and then a full depth chart update for all of the games out on Friday to get you all set for setting your lineups for week number 12. But let's take a look back at week number 11, and let's start with the quarterback position. Matt Shiltz of the Montreal Alouettes leading the way, 21.4 points, only player to cross the 20-point mark, and great day for him. He finally gets his first start for Montreal after the injury to Vernon Adams Jr. Leading the way is Matt Shiltz. He hit full value this week at an $8,000 salary, putting up over 2.5 points per $1,000. That's what I deem as full value. Those are the point totals in green here on the video. So Shiltz hits full value. Bo Levi Mitchell is the second highest scorer of the week, 15.1 points. A big win for Calgary, but not quite turning into a barn burner of a performance at quarterback for him, but a solid day nonetheless. Zach Collaros putting up 14.4 for the Bombers. Edmonton Elks quarterback Taylor Cornelius, the starter going forward for this team. No more Trevor Harris. He's off to Montreal. And Taylor Cornelius puts up 13.4 points against the Bombers. Not a bad day. Very few quarterbacks have hit their value against Winnipeg this season, and kudos to Cornelius for putting up at least 2.5 per $1,000 there. If for whatever mysterious reason you decided to take Nathan Rourke as your quarterback in CFL Fantasy this week, even though he was the backup, you were rewarded. Michael Riley ended up getting pulled after putting up just 2 fantasy points on the day. They put in Rourke. He puts up 12.7. Not a bad day for him in relief there. Young Canadian kid getting a good shot there for the Lions. I was one of the people who took Caleb Evans this week. I think a lot of people may have as well. 6.9 points for him. Disappointing day, even at a cheaper salary. His backup, Taron Christian, ended up coming in for a few plays, rushed and threw for about 3.4 points. And then we see a couple other backups. I mentioned Michael Riley at just 2 points and surrounded by a few backups. So those were the quarterbacks. If you didn't take Shiltz, you didn't take Cornelius, and you didn't take Rourke, which, let's be honest, nobody did. If you did, put it in the comments section. I want to know who the heck had the inside info that was going to know that Nathan Rourke would put up the 5th best fantasy total on the week. Moving on to the running backs. More surprises across the board here. Backup running backs leading the way. Rock Thomas of the Calgary Stampeders gets onto the active roster as a backup to Kadeem Carey. Took that spot from Ante Milanovic-Litre and got in on some kick returns as well. Now, had a huge one to start the second half, 100-something yard kick return for a touchdown, 16.1 points for him in a fantastic day. Brady Oliveira comes in the second half for the Bombers after Andrew Harris goes down and runs all over the Elks defense, 14.4 points. He hit full value as well, and something BC running backs haven't done very much this year. James Butler also hitting full value at 12.4 points, getting involved a little bit in the passing game there, which I think helped his stats out in that one. Outside of these 3 guys, you weren't hitting full value necessarily, but Andrew Harris did put up 11.4 points before leaving the game at halftime. You have to wonder if he played the full game, how many he would have put up. Kadeem Carey had 8.6. And then we get into a few of the cheaper plays this week. A lot of people starting Cameron Artis-Payne after William Stanback was out due to food poisoning. 8.5 points for him. Not bad, but not what you were looking for. Anthony Coombs, the receiver that's for some reason listed as a running back, put up 7.6. James Wilder Jr., disappointing day for him, 7.2 points at, I believe, around a $9,000 salary is not what you're looking for. We got a couple of return guys there at 4.6, and then a disappointing week as well for DeLance Turner. I thought he was going to have a better week after the one he put up last game in his debut with the Red Blacks, but just 3.2 points for him on week number 11. Getting into the receivers, you can see there's a very few guys that got you the full bang for your buck here as well, and the one leading the way is the guy who is the most consistent touchdown catch guy I've ever seen probably in the CFL. He's gotten a touchdown every game but 2 this year, and in one game he had 2 touchdown grabs. So he's batting almost a touchdown a game. It's hard to bank on those TDs a lot of times, but with Jake Weineke, I think it's pretty safe to do so week in and week out. 24.4 points for him. Rasheed Bailey, a big game for the Bombers, 22.5. He's having himself a fantastic season. Brian Burnham of the BC Lions came awfully close early in that game to putting a touchdown up, gets knocked out at, I think, the 1-yard line after a big gain. That would have vaulted his stats, but 16.3 points for him was still the third best total on the week. Ryan Davis continues to be a bright spot for the Ottawa Red Blacks, 15.7 points, covering the full point production you're looking for. Luther Hakunavanu, 15.2 points, $2,500 if you took a chance on him as a Calgary receiver in a very full rotation of receivers there in Calgary. He delivered this week, 15.2 points. The couple games he's gotten in, he's shown some very bright flashes and could be a big receiver for them going forward. Kenny Stafford had 13.5 points, a fine day for him. And big surprise this week, Richie Sindani breaking out of nowhere to lead the team with, I believe it was 6 catches for 60 yards. Coming into the game on the year, I think he only had, 9 to 10 catches on the season. So big boost in production there and targets his way. And he made the most of them, catching all 6 of his targets. I believe 12 points for Richie Sindani. I know a couple of people who took him in their fantasy weeks this week, and kudos to you for a successful value play there. Javon Katoy puts up 11.3. Kenny Lawler back in the lineup for the Bombers, 11.2. Not really getting too much production there from Lawler at his price point. Nick Hawley, another cheap Calgary receiver that gave you value at 11 points. Eugene Lewis, a bit of a step back this week, 10.5 for Montreal. Greg Ellingson coming in around 10 points yet again. Lamar Durant at 9.3, still working his way back into that BC offense a little bit more. After missing so much time due to injury, Shai Ross put up 8.1, almost a full value play there from the Elks. Shai Ross becoming one of the best receiver options out of Edmonton this year, it seems, on a consistent basis. Quan Bray, 8 points for the Alouettes. Devontae Dedmon had a fantastic start to this game, a couple big returns. I really thought he was going to hit the 250-yard mark again, have you a big week, but he did go down due to injury, so just 7.6 from him. Darrell Walker continues to struggle for Edmonton, 7.4 points. And kind of forgotten man in the Alouettes offense week in and week out this year, it seems. Keon Julian Grant did hit full value with 6.5 points, had a big reception early in that game to help him hit that total. Looking at the rest of the field here at wide receiver, Malik Henry for Calgary putting up 5.7. Janarian Grant on the return job, 5.5 for the Bombers. BJ Cunningham still producing under 10 points week in and week out. So much talent there, but not producing the fantasy points for you. Colt Hunchak had 4.9. Keon Hatcher, I think, was a lot of people's value plays this week with no Lucky Whitehead in the lineup. $2,500. He's a good producer for BC, but they just didn't use him until like the fourth quarter, I think it was, which was a disappointment for a lot of people. Tavon Smith, Jalen Tolliver, a couple Elks there putting up 4 points. Same thing, Mike Jones just shy of that. And possibly the biggest disappointment of the week came from Nick Dembski of the Bombers, who put up just 3.9 points. He's been so consistent, putting up at least over 10. He's been so consistent at putting up the big totals, but very minimal usage of Dembski in this week's game, and not very many fantasy points to show as a result of it, unfortunately. Markeith Amble's also a down week for him, 3.3. Herji Mayala's at 1.9. Darvin Adams continues to be kind of non-existent most weeks in that Bombers offense. It seems some weeks he is, some weeks he isn't. Nate Behar, I realize it says Montreal there beside his name. He is from Ottawa. That was a typo. He played Montreal, so typo on my part, but 1.7 points for him. Note, he has not been traded. Do not freak out if you're a Nate Behar fan in Ottawa. He has not been traded. He is a member of the Red Blacks still, and put up 1.7 points this week. RJ Harris putting up 1.6. Disappointing week yet again from him. After the season we saw from him in 2019, I expected him to lead the way for Ottawa this season, but he seems to be on the lower end in fantasy points more weeks than not. Shaq Johnson, Michael Klukas, the bottom couple point getters there this week, and then a couple Bombers putting up 0 points. Drew Wolotarski, some weeks he gets the point total, the targets his way, some weeks he does not, and this week he got 0 points. And Kelvin McKnight was on the roster as a backup, but with Kenny Lawler returning, but did not get any targets his way either, so was also 0 points on the week. Looking at the defenses, it continues to be a good season for defenses. I tell you, a lot of people go with the no defense strategy. Especially this year, you should really be picking a defense because they are delivering value more often than most players at, say, the running back position actually this season. And if you took the Montreal defense, you had a fantastic day and you were celebrating quite a bit from their big 23-point performance. 10 sacks on the Ottawa Red Blacks this week, if you could believe it. Double digits there for Montreal. Calgary putting up a surprising 17 points this week. Huge performance against the BC Lions. We haven't seen too many huge fantasy performances out of Calgary this year, but that is certainly the one for them. Edmonton's defense, on a rare occasion, putting up full value at exactly what you were looking for with 8 points. Especially impressive given it was against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have been averaging around 3 points given up to defenses all season. Definitely the best day anybody's had against them. Ottawa put up 7 points, and if you took the Bombers' defense at their price point, 7 points was a bit of a disappointment for what you were looking for. And then the overall worst score of the week comes via the BC Lions, who put up -2 points, which is absolutely not what you want from your fantasy picks, is to get negative points. You want all the points. Give me all the points. I wish I had all the points this week, but it was my worst week of the season. It was absolutely awful for me, as it was for a lot of people. Just everything went wrong. At 150 points last week, and this time I'm down to 50.6. At least it averages out to 100. But shameful performance on my part this week with this roster here. Caleb Evans, not a great day. 3 picks there at quarterback. I went with the good, cheaper running back options. I had high hopes for them after the last game the two of them played, and they didn't produce the value I was looking for there. As I mentioned, Nick Dembski, the biggest disappointment on the week for my lineup, certainly at 3.9. Brian Burnham, who kind of led the way for me, 16.3 points. I kept going back and forth this week on, originally I think I had Nick Dembski, then I changed it to Jake Weineke, thinking, oh, he could have a really good game. Then I ended up going back to Dembski, and I originally had Stanback in my lineup, but then when I saw he was out, I switched it for Artis Payne and Weineke. And then I second-guessed myself and second-guessed Matt Schultz and traded Weineke for Brian Burnham. So if I would have put him in, he would have been he was the top scoring receiver on the week. So second-guessing my own decisions, shame on me for doing that this week. And Keon Hatcher also not delivering as a value play, and disappointment from the Bombers defense as well. So 50.6 points is all I was able to muster for week number 11, but we'll see if we can get it back on track in week number 12, and hopefully you would still manage a good fantasy week, and if not, hey, it's a brand new week this week, and we're all going to race for the top of the charts, hopefully, and I will have all of the video content to help you be prepared to do so. As I mentioned off the top, stay tuned on Wednesday. I'll preview the quarterbacks and the running backs. Thursday, I'll preview the wide receivers and the defenses. And Friday, I will preview the depth charts for all of the games this weekend. And do all the YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't. If you have any fantasy questions, put them in the comment section or tweet them at me at CooperTrooper42. Quick note also on there, sometimes we get these updates from the teams right before a game starts of who's going to be playing and who's not. We have scratches like William Stanback this week, who was a last second scratch. Josh Huff was for Calgary this week. So I in a lot of those cases don't have the time to put a video out, but if you do follow me on Twitter at CooperTrooper42, I do always tweet them out as I see them, so that can be your one-stop shop for all things last-minute fantasy news to help you make sure you don't get any zeros in your lineup. I mentioned doing all the YouTube things already, which is good. If you want to play CFL Fantasy alongside myself and other viewers, you can check out a link in the description to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix group over on the official CFL Fantasy site and play alongside myself and others this week and every week throughout the 2021 CFL season. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.